One bad whistle. The engines on the island of Sodor all know that safety is a very important issue on the Fact Controller's railway. One of the most important things the engines must do is whistle. They all know that it is always important to let others know that they are coming. They have to whistle to the signalman and to let others know if they are on their way through. Every engine knows how important whistles are to everyone. One day, Bill and Ben were at the workstation. Bill was unhappy. His whistle wasn't working properly, so he had to stay there until it was fixed.
"Oh dear," he sighed, "I won't be able to have any fun today." "We can't play with the trucks," said Ben. "It's no fun if you're on your own."
Then Edward popped into the work shed. He was shunting a flatbed of engine parts. He could see that the twins weren't happy.
"Don't worry, Bill," he said. "Your whistle will soon be fixed, and you can go back to work."
Bill was pleased to hear this, but Ben was worried.
"But what about the big delivery at the quarry?" he asked. "I can't shunt all those trucks on my own."
"You'll have to do your best until Bill is fixed," said his driver.
"On your way, please, Ben," puffed Edward. "Time you were on your way."
But Ben didn't want to go. He wanted to stay with his twin.
"But I need to be here with Bill," he moaned. "I'm the only one who can make Bill happy."
"Nonsense," said the workman. "That's what we're here for." "Come along, Ben," agreed the driver. "Let's go. We mustn't be late." Ben groaned as he puffed away. Bill watched as his twin puffed into the distance. He wanted to toot goodbye, but he knew he couldn't until his whistle was fixed. Ben huffed along the line back towards the quarry. He was still unhappy. He wanted to be back with Bill.
"I wish Bill was with me," he groaned. "I'm not going to shunt the trucks all on my own."
Now, Ben," called his driver. "You'll be alright. Boco and Mavis will be at the quarry to help you out, so you won't be on your own." Ben smiled. He felt pleased that he wouldn't have to do the work on his own. Now he was sure the delivery could be completed on time. But when he got to the quarry, there was a problem. He saw that Boco and Mavis were in the sheds. Their drivers were checking their engines.
"What's going on here?"
asked Ben. He was puzzled. "I'm afraid the two diesels are going to be in the shed for a while," explained the quarry manager. "They need more fuel, and Polley will be arriving later to deliver it. So in the meantime, you'll have to shunt the trucks on your own, Ben." This made Ben very cross. He really didn't expect this at all.
"I am not shunting these trucks on my own," he huffed crossly. "Surely they have enough fuel to shunt at least a few trucks."
"No, we don't," huffed Mavis. "We only have a little amount left, and that's not enough to collect one train."
"But surely you can shunt just 2 trucks,"
said Ben.
"Nonsense," grunted Boco. "If we tried to shunt some trucks, we would then run out of fuel and then come to a stop."
"I'm sorry, Ben," said the quarry manager, "but you'll have to cope with this job on your own until the fuel arrives." Ben reached a big cloud of steam. "That's enough, Ben," shouted his driver. "Come on, we've got work to do." Ben didn't want to argue anymore, so he fumed away. He forgot to whistle goodbye to Boco and Mavis. The two diesels were very concerned.
"I hope Ben doesn't cause any trouble,"
murmured Boco.
"Me too,"
said Mavis. Ben was soon busy pushing and pulling the trucks around the quarry. But he was still cross. He didn't want to do this job on his own.
"I shouldn't have to struggle on my own," he grumbled to himself. "An engine like me should really have some help."
He raced forward and gave the trucks a bump. "Oh, oh, 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 oh!" they cried.
"Be quiet!" shouted Ben crossly.
The trucks could see Ben was in a bad mood, so decided not to say anything. Then Ben puffed towards a set of points. He was so cross he puffed too fast and sped right past Thomas. Thomas was cross. "You silly engine!" he shouted. "You should have whistled!"
"Sorry,"
groaned Ben, and he blew his whistle. Thomas gave a big groan.
It's too late now!
he shouted. But Ben wasn't listening. He was too cross to take any notice. Later, Ben was shunting trucks towards the chute. He had to load the trucks up and shunt them away to the siding. But as he got there, James was pushing his trucks under the chute. Ben had to stop. This made him cross.
Out of my way, he called. I have a big job to do.
James snorted.
You must wait your turn,
He said,
I was here first.
My job is more important than your silly job,
huffed Ben.
Rubbish!
Snorted James.
I have a big delivery to make to the seaside station, so be quiet.
Ben's face was beginning to turn red. He was getting very cross. So he puffed away with his empty trucks. A moment later, Ben was puffing up alongside James's train. He wanted James to move out of the way so he could get his trucks loaded. Then an idea came towards him.
I know how to get James to move out,
he sniggered. Ben, don't do anything silly, cautioned his driver. But Ben wasn't listening to this. Puffed up slowly and quietly alongside James and took a deep breath. Then he blew a long, loud whistle. James was so surprised he jolted backwards and bumped into his trucks. The front truck slowly went back and all the gravel poured into James's tender. James's driver and fireman jumped out of the cab and ran towards the workmen. When the dust cleared, James's tender was full to the top with gravel. He was very cross.
Now look what you've done!
He cried crossly.
Now I'm stuck! I cannot make my delivery!
I'm in no mood to argue,
huffed Ben.
You should have let me go first.
Before James could answer, Ben puffed away with his trucks. James couldn't believe what had happened. He was now very cross with Ben. At the sheds, the foreman came over to see Boco and Mavis. He was starting to worry.
I hope the fuel arrives soon,
he moaned. Ben's causing trouble all around the quarry.
That Ben has been nothing but trouble,
said Mavis.
Don't worry, said Boco. When the fuel arrives, we can go back to work and teach Ben a lesson.
Then they heard a whistle coming from behind. It was a whistle they knew well.
The fuel's here,
cheered Mavis. And it was. Molly puffed happily into the quarry with the trucks of fuel for the 2 diesels. She stopped beside the sheds, feeling very pleased with herself.
Here you go,
she smiled.
Now you two can get back to work in no time.
Boco and Mavis were pleased to hear this.
It won't be long now,
grinned Boco. Ben was still in a bad mood. He was shunting a long line of loaded trucks. He didn't know that Molly was on the same line as him and that he was heading straight towards her. When everyone saw this, they called and shouted to Ben.
Stop!
shouted Boco.
You're going to crash!
cried Mavis. Molly was so worried she whistled as long and as loud as she could.
Ben, look out!
she shouted. Ben was so surprised he shot forward and bumped the trucks. His driver applied the brakes as hard as he could, but it was too late. The trucks crashed right into Molly. Gravel flew into the air and dust went everywhere. When the dust cleared, everyone coughed and spluttered. The engines were covered in dust and the men were covered in gravel. No one was seriously hurt, but gravel had poured down Molly's funnel. Now Molly was stuck. The foreman stormed over to Ben. Ben, you silly stupid engine, he fumed. Look what you've done! Ben felt very bad. He couldn't think what to say. You wait until the patch controller hears about this, the foreman grumbled as he walked away.
You've really done it now,
glared Boco crossly. Ben was very worried. He didn't want to face the fat controller. Soon Percy arrived with the breakdown train and some empty trucks. He was surprised when he saw the mess and the state Molly was in.
Fire and smoke! He cried. What a mess!
The Fats Controller was on board the train. He climbed down from the works coach and went to see Ben. He was very cross. "Ben, you have been a very irresponsible engine," he boomed. "You have caused a great deal of trouble. You cut in front of Thomas, played a horrible joke on James, and now Molly is going to need to be sent to the works to be mended." Ben shuddered. He didn't dare speak or breathe a word. "And you have delayed work at the quarry," the Fats Controller added. "If you had used your whistle properly and let others know that you were coming, then this wouldn't have happened. Whistles are for safety. You should know that by now."
"I'm very sorry, sir,"
sighed Ben sadly. "I hope you are," thundered the Fats Controller. "For your punishment, you shall clear up this mess, and you will stay in the shed for a long time until you can learn how to be a safe engine."
"Yes, sir,"
said Ben.
"I suggest you get to work right away,"
put in Percy. Everyone agreed. Ben wheezed some steam and set to work. The crane soon lifted the broken trucks out of the way, and the men shoveled gravel into the empty trucks Percy had brought. Ben shunted away the loaded trucks into a siding. He was feeling very sorry for himself.
"I wish I had paid more attention to what I was doing,"
he thought to himself. When the tracks were cleared, Percy pulled Molly all the way to the works. The workmen had to clear out the gravel in Molly's funnel. At last the mess was cleared up, and Boco and Mavis were now full of fuel and ready to go. But the foreman was concerned. "It's getting late. The sun is setting," he said. "We'll never get the delivery finished today." "Then you'll have to complete it tomorrow," said the Fat Controller. "Boco and Mavis, when Bill comes home, you three will have to try and finish off the job as quickly as possible."
"Yes, sir,"
said the two diesels together.
"And you, Ben, will stay in your shed for a few days,"
said the Fats Controller sternly. "I hope you have time to think about what you've done."
"I will, sir,"
laughed Ben.
"I promise."
That night, Bill came home. He felt very pleased to be back at the quarry.
"Welcome back, Bill,"
smiled Boco.
It's great to have you back,
said Mavis. Bill smiled happily and then turned to his twin.
"Hello, Ben," he smiled. "What's this I hear about you causing trouble?"
Ben didn't answer.
"He's stuck in the shed for a few days," explained Boco. "His antics have caused problems everywhere."
so now we're going to have to do all the work without him,
added Mavis. Bill then saw a chance to be cheeky.
Well, 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 chuckled Bill. "Looks like you won't be making any more mischief for a while."
Boco and Mavis could tell where Bill was going with this, so decided to keep quiet and listen.
"Even if you do make a noise, no one will want to come and see you," sniggered Bill, "because if you don't whistle, no one will know if you want anything or not."
Everyone laughed and laughed. Ben just kept quiet. He didn't like Bill's joke at all. But I think that's going to keep him quiet for a long time. Don't you?